Oh, hi. This is another video filmed during the time of Corona from my kitchen, and I am today going to show you how to start the base of a thumb gusset on a mitten. I'm doing this to support specific pattern releases. So when you have a hand knitted mitten, we'll probably have a fitted gusset to go around this bit of your hand, and in this case this has a lace feature. So you start here at this point here with a single stitch, and you increase within some parameters that are set by stitch markers until you have the number of stitches between those stitch markers that the pattern specifies. It is actually really simple to do, but it's actually harder to write it down. So I'm going to show you how it starts. Here I've got a pretend mitten with about 33 stitches, and this is my main marker. So this is the marker that tells me when I'm at the beginning and the end of a round of knitting. So I've ended a round of knitting here and I've carried on, and the pattern will then say at the beginning of the gusset, mine will always say you're now going to knit this bit, knit X number of stitches. So let's say that it says knit 6 stitches or 7 stitches. So we've got 4 there. So 5, 6, 7. And then my patterns will say place marker. And I call them thumb marker 1 and 2. And you can see that these two markers are different from the main marker, because that helps me to make sure that I don't get muddled up between the thumb gusset and the beginning and the end of the round. So I'm going to place thumb marker 1, and then the pattern will say to make an increase somehow. So it might be make 1, which would be picking up that bar of yarn and knitting into the back of it. Or if you wanted a decorative feature, as I do on these mittens here, you're just going to do it with a yarn forward. So we're basically making a stitch. So I've placed the marker, then yarn forward, and then knit 1. That's the very base, that one I've just knitted of the thumb, and then yarn forward again, and then that makes another stitch, and then knit to the end of the round. So when I get round there again, which I will in a moment, you'll see that I've got 3 stitches in there. 2 of which are formed by just having a yarn forward, and 1 is the stitch that I initially put there in the middle. However you make whatever the pattern says about making the thumb gusset, you're probably going to go up to something between 15 and 19 stitches just to get you to a sufficient width around the base of your thumb. But you can always alter that. You know, it doesn't really alter the pattern, even if you had a pattern that needed a specific number of stitches for the repeat. You need to think of the stitches that you're going to create and work between the 2 thumb markers as really separate from the rest of the mitten. So now I've reached the end of the round. I'm going to slip the marker and start the next round of my mitten, and when I get to the thumb, you'll see how those stitches present. Every other round, certainly in my patterns for mittens, would then tell you to reach the thumb marker 1, slip it, knit 3. Now you can see that these 3 stitches are 1 yarn forward, 1 reel stitch, and another yarn forward. And then it will say slip marker 2 and carry on to the end of the round, which I'm not going to do because we'll carry on indefinitely then. So now you can see that I've got 3 stitches in between thumb markers 1 and 2. And I didn't make any increases in that second round, I just knitted them. So on the next round, when I get round to here again and start again, it will be slip thumb marker 1, yarn forward, knit 3, yarn forward, slip thumb marker 2, continue to the end of the round. That will give me 5 stitches in between these markers. The next round after that will be plain, and then I'll do the same thing again. I'll do yarn forward, knit 5, yarn forward, so I'll have 7 stitches in between, and then I'll do a plain round. And my patterns will always tell you to continue doing that as set, which is just exactly as I've described it, until you get to the number that I've specified. I'm going to do another little video in a minute to show you what you do when you have knitted all of the stitches between the thumb markers and you need to carry on with the rest of the mitten.